Hi everyone, welcome to the next session for design and drawing of reinforced concrete structure. Up to now, we have discussed about the analysis of singly reinforced beam section as well as analysis of doubly reinforced beam section. In analysis of singly reinforced section, we have calculated the moment of resistance as well as we have calculated the area of the steel reinforcement requirement for different types of loading condition, as well as we have solved two more problems on design of singly reinforced beam section. In today's class, we are going to discussing about the design procedure of doubly reinforced beam section. Already I have told about what is meant by singly reinforced beam section, what is meant by doubly reinforced beam section. When the moment carrying capacity of the section is less than the applied moment, in those conditions will provide extra reinforcement in the tension zone as well as in the compression zone. In that situation, if you design the beam, such type of beams, we are calling it as a doubly reinforced beam. You can also tell that what is meant by doubly reinforced beam. Reinforcement provision in the top portion as well as in the bottom portion. In those conditions also you can say that the beam as a doubly reinforced beam section. In singly reinforced beam design, what are the different type of design steps you have followed? The same design steps we have also following in this for design of doubly reinforced beam. The only difference is the additional steel reinforcement we have to calculate for this doubly reinforced beam section. If you observe in our first design of singly reinforced beam, we have calculated about the effective depth of the beam, we have calculated the effective span of the beam, we have calculated the loading condition, we have calculated the bending moment and shear force, moment of resistance we have calculated. Based on that type of section we derived for the type of section maximum area of the steel reinforcement, minimum area of the steel reinforcement, and a check for shear. All these parameters already we have discussed in our previous sessions. In today's class also I am repeating the same design procedure for doubly reinforced beam with a little modification. That means some additional parameters we are using here for doubly reinforced beam. If you come to the first step, the step one is cross sectional dimensions of the beam. That cross sectional dimensions is nothing but the width of the beam, depth of the beam, how much you are providing. Based on the type of the beam, they are asking for the examination question, in what type of beam you are designing. Based on that we have to calculate the effective depth of the beam. The effective depth of the beam you can calculate it from IS 456 2000 code book, that is class number 23.2.1 and page number 37. I have written this page number 37, as well as class number 23.2.1. From this class you can calculate the span to depth ratio. If you hear depth of the beam is fixed based on the how much amount of length of the span you are going to keeping, based on that the effective depth we have to fix. That effective depth equal to or effective length of the beam equal based on the span to the depth ratio. How much span you are keeping, based on this span to depth ratio, this effective depth based on this span to depth ratio, that value we have to keep. That value span to depth ratio, here we can take it from this table, not here this table. This is the values they are mentioned in our code book. If you observe in our code book 37, for cantilever they are given value as 7, simply supported beam they are given value as 20. For continuous beam, that span to depth ratio, this span to depth ratio we have to take based on this IS 456 code book. Suppose if they are giving the beam as a cantilever beam, in those conditions we have to take 7. If they are given the beam as simply supported, in those conditions we have to take this value as 20. If they are giving the beam as continuous beam, in those conditions we have to take this value as 26 based on the span to depth ratio. If you see here, these are the some empirical value based on the deflection condition we have considered here while calculating the problem. If you remember these problems, while checking the limiting moment or checking the limiting depth, you won't get any redesign if you take the values in between for your design concept. After designing the provided depth, what you are providing for the beam, it should not resistance the applied moment. In those conditions, again you have to rechange this effective depth. To neglect that problem, we are kept here some values in between for this different type of loading condition. If you take in between these values, definitely the beam can resist that moment. Suppose first if you see here, span range up to 3 meters, that means your span is, it will be in 3 to 4 meters. In those conditions, the loading it will be low, and span to depth ratio we can take it as 15 to 20. Suppose they will ask in our examination, design a doubly reinforced beam for a span of 4 meters with a live load of 100 kilonewton per meter, something load, and effective grade of the steel, grade of the concrete they are giving. For those type of problems, based on the span range, based on the type of the loading condition, in between the span to depth ratio we have to consider. Again, if you see here, the second range is 5 to 10 meters. Suppose your beam is in between 5 to 10 range and your loading is medium type. In those conditions, we have to take this span to depth ratio as 12 to 15. It is not necessary to take exactly these values. You can take 16 also, you can take 11 also. But the problem is, while you are calculating the effective depth what you are providing, that may be not resist the movement. Again, you have to read taking the effective depth. To neglect those situations, we have to take in between these values. Again, if you see here, for spans more than 10 meters, whereas for heavy loading condition, we can take this span to depth ratio as 12. If you observe here, while increasing the span length, we are decreasing the span to depth ratio. If you remember this point, you can take the value what you can want. That means if you are increasing the span to depth ratio, that means length of the span is increasing. In those conditions, you have to decrease the span to depth ratio. These are not fixed values. You can take whatever you want in between the range. This is the first step. And the next step, we are having the loading condition, step number 2. Well, before calculating the step number 2, one more step we are having, that is nothing but effective span. Here I didn't mention the point, and you can also here mention one more step, that step number, special step, other step is effective span. Okay, effective span. The effective span also we have to calculate for this type of problems. Effective span is nothing but clear span plus center to center distance between the supports, or clear span plus effective depth. What are the effective span calculation is there in singly reinforced beam? The same procedure also we are calculating for this doubly reinforced beam also. Effective span, LE effective equal to clear span plus distance between the center to center support, or clear span plus effective depth. While calculating the problem, again I will mention the code book and as well as page number. This is the one more step for calculation of the effective span. Next we are having the step number 2. Step number 2 is nothing but after calculation of effective depth, effective span, we are having the loading condition. For particular type of beam, how much length you are providing, how much depth you are providing. After known of all these parameters, we have to calculate the how much amount of load is going to be acting on the beam. First load is nothing but the self weight of the member, or the member weight itself. Self weight is nothing but the weight of the member itself. What type of the cross sectional dimensions you are providing, how much length you are providing, how much depth you are providing, how much width you are providing. Based on the cross sectional dimensions, what type of material you are using for the cross sectional member, based on that the dead load or self weight of the member will may act. And next we are having the live load. Live load is nothing but the movable loads. Based on their requirements, they will mention the problem as live load values, either 6 kN per meter, 10 kN per meter, 20 kN per meter. Based on requirement, they will calculate, they will give the live load. Next we have to calculate the total load or total live load plus dead load, any finishes load, any other loads what they are giving, the total load we have to calculate. The total load we are taking it as a W is the total load. Next we have to calculate the ultimate load. The design ultimate load we are naming it as WU. The design ultimate load WU equal to partial safety factor into total load. Partial safety factor into total load. Again, this partial safety factor for different types of loading condition, how we are taking for limit state of collapse, for limit state of serviceability, already we are considering it from the IS 456 2000. If you see here, density of concrete, that is nothing but density of reinforced concrete, we are taking it as 25 kilonewton per meter cube. That means if you are manufacturing the concrete as reinforced concrete, in those conditions, if you prepare 1 meter cube width, 1 meter cube depth and 1 meter cube height, and if you calculate the density for that concrete, the density it will be 25 kilonewton per meter cube. As well as partial safety factor for different types of loading condition, we have already seen our from IS 456 2000. For partial safety factor we are taking it as 1.50 for limit state of collapse under flexural condition. Next, after calculation of this loading condition, due to loads acting on the beam cross section dimension of the beam it will may get a deflect or bend. How much load due to acting on the beam it is bending, that moment we have to calculate. That is nothing but ultimate moment, ultimate shear. Shear is nothing but cutting of the member. Moment is nothing but force into perpendicular distance. Due to application of the force, how much bend is acting on the member, that we have to calculate. Ultimate moment equal to WU into L square divided by A, where W is the total design ultimate load, that is nothing but design ultimate load. L effective is the effective length of the span, already we have calculated, and 8 is the bending moment for the uniformly distributed load. As well as ultimate shear we are having W into L divided by 8. This is the amount of force acting on the member, that is nothing but ultimate shear. For this ultimate moment and ultimate shear, we have to provide the reinforcement. Before going to the reinforcement details, we should have to ensure that whether the section is either singly reinforced beam section or doubly reinforced beam section. In singly reinforced beam section, the additional moment getting on the member will be less than the limiting moment. Suppose the member will carry the capacity of 100 kilonewton per meter square. The additional moment acting on the beam only 80 kilonewton per meter. In those conditions, we can design the beam as a singly reinforced beam. Whereas our particular condition is for a doubly reinforced beam. In doubly reinforced beam, the additional moment acting on the beam is maximum, is more than the limiting moment. Hence why we are providing the reinforcement in the compression as well as in the tension. Next, step number 4, we are having the limiting moment of resistance. The limiting moment of resistance, again we are calculating by using the formula mu limit equal to Q into FCK into BD square, where this Q is the constant value. Based on the grade of the steel, the Q value it will may vary. Suppose if you are using the grade of steel as Fe250 or Fe415 or Fe500, based on that the Q value it will may vary. For Fe250 we are taking it as 0.148. For Fe415 we are taking it as 0.138. For Fe500 we are taking this value as 0.133. All these values you have to remember. Okay. Next, after calculation of this limiting moment, we have to compare the additional moment or ultimate moment due to the application of the load. Due to application of the load, how much moment is acting on the beam. Based on the dimensions provided the beam, how much the limiting moment acting on the beam, that we have to compare. Based on that comparison of moment, we can say that whether the beam is under reinforced, over reinforced or balanced section. If you see here again, mu is equal to the mu limit. That means the applied moment will be equal to the limiting moment. In those conditions, we can say that whether the beam as a balanced section, For balanced section, doubly reinforced beam we have to design. In balanced section already we have know the different types of assumptions. The major assumption is steel and concrete will fail simultaneously at a time. Okay, if your moment is mu is equal to the mu limit, this section is a balanced section. Whereas the applied moment mu is greater than the mu limit, it will be the over reinforced section. The additional moment acting on the beam, it will be greater than the limiting moment, that we are calling it as a over reinforced section. Over reinforced section we won't design, we again will go back to the balanced section. Whereas if you consider the second section is mu less than the mu limit. The additional moment will be less than the limiting moment. In those conditions we can say that this section is under reinforced section. For this under reinforced section, again you have to design the beam. Okay, this is the calculation or comparison for the limiting moment of resistance. Next we are having the calculation of reinforcement details. For this application of load, the moment developing on the beam, based on the moment development we have to provide the reinforcement into the concrete, that how many number of bars we have to provide, as well as how much amount of grade of steel we have to use. Based on those parameters we will use the all these calculation procedure. Here this is the step number 5. This step number 5 we are having the calculation of reinforcement details. In doubly reinforced beam section we are having the limiting moment as well as we are having the ultimate moment. Limiting moment we can calculate for the area of the steel 1. The additional moment we can calculate for the area of the steel 2. If you see here, this is the formulas we have mentioned here for calculation of the area of the steel for limiting moment as well as for the area of the steel for the additional moment. For limiting moment, area of the steel AST1 equal to 0.36 into FCK into B into XU max divided by 0.87 into Fi. Here I have mentioned XU max because I am considering this section as a balanced section. Suppose your section is under reinforced section, in those conditions you should have to use the value as XU. Okay, I am considering this section as under balanced section, hence why I am taking the value as XU max, that AST1 equal to 0.36 into FCK into B XU max divided by 0.87 into FE. 0.36 value, you know, FCK they will give in the problem, B value they will give in the problem, XU max will calculate, area grade of the steel they will give in the problem. Based on that we will calculate the area of the steel for limiting moment. Next we are having the area of the steel for additional moment, that AST2 equal to ASC into FSC divided by 0.87 into Fi, where ASC is the area of the steel reinforcement in the compression phase. FSC is the stress in steel in concrete. Stress in steel in concrete. Suppose this is your rectangular beam section. In this we are providing the reinforcement bar in top and bottom. Due to application of the load, the stress will develop in the steel in the compression phase. That is nothing but FSC value. Again this FSC value we are calculating by using the formula. Based on this value from IS 456 code book, we will take this FSC value. FSC value equal to 0.0035 into 1 minus D dash by XU max into ES, where ES is the modulus of elasticity of the steel. D dash is the effective depth, XU max is the maximum depth or limiting depth of the beam. While calculating the design problem, I will clearly explain about this stress in steel in concrete. Next, if I have mentioned one more formula, that is FSC, it should not be greater than or equal to 0.87 into Fi, where Fi is the grade of steel. Based on grade of steel, the stress in steel in concrete will may vary. It should always not be greater than 0.87 times of Fi. Suppose you are using the grade of steel as Fe 250 grade, in those conditions compulsory we should have to use 0.87 into Fi. This is the calculation for area of the steel. This steel reinforcement details also you can get it from IS 456 2000 page number 96 clause number G 1.1. Okay, next we are having the area of the steel reinforcement in the compression reinforcement. This ASC, area of steel in compression, we are providing to resist the additional moment, that we can calculate by using this formula, mu minus mu limit divided by FSC into d minus d dash, where mu is the additional moment due to the application of the load, mu limit is the limiting moment we are calculating based on the cross sectional dimension, FSC is the stress in steel in the top portion, compression portion, d is the effective depth of the beam, and the d dash is the effective cover we are providing to the reinforcement of the bar. Okay, next we are having the total area of the steel, AST equal to AST1 plus AST. In some calculation of limiting depth of the neutral axis, in some conditions they will give the ASC value, they will give the area of the steel also, they will ask to calculate the moment of resistance of the section. In those conditions, these formulas will use to calculate the actual depth of the neutral axis. If you know the area of the steel one, total compressive force equal to total tangential force, by using those formula we can get the actual depth of the neutral axis. This is how we are calculating the actual steel requirement. After calculation of all this steel reinforcement, next we are having the two more clauses, that is minimum reinforcement, maximum reinforcement, as well as area of the steel provided. This is the area of the steel required for the movement to resistance. After required calculation of area of steel, we have to provide the reinforcement based on our requirement. That requirement is nothing but how much minimum amount we have to keep, how much maximum amount of steel we can keep. Based on that area of the steel, we have to provide area of the steel we required, we can calculate. This is the design or step for the calculation of the area of the steel reinforcement. The singly reinforced beam section, what you are discussed, the same procedure also we are adapting here. Next we are having the check for shear. Due to this application of the load, the beam also it will may get to ultimate shear. That ultimate shear we have to calculate. That ultimate shear tau v equal to Vu divided by BD. Again this from class number 40 point something. Okay, I will show the class number. I'll see the class number. The class number 40.1. Class number 40.1. From class number 40.1, page number 72, we have to calculate this shear stress value. That shear stress tau v equal to Vu divided by B into D, where Vu is the shear force we are calculating by using this formula. B is the width of the section, D is the effective depth of the beam. After calculation of this shear reinforcement, the beam is going to be shear. To resist that shear, we have to provide the reinforcement. That provide reinforcement, whether it will resist the shear strength of the concrete or not, we have to check. Based on that, stirrups we have to provide for the beam. That percentage of tension reinforcement for stirrups equal to PT equal to 100 AST divided by BD. Okay, this is the limiting percentage of steel. What is the percentage of steel we have to provide for the beam? That PT equal to 100 into AST divided by BD. AST is the area of the steel provided in the beam, B is the width of the beam, and small d is the effective depth of the beam. After calculation of this percentage of steel reinforcement, again from table number 19, we'll check the tau c value. The tau c value nothing but design shear strength. The design shear strength of the concrete will be less than or equal to the designed shear stress. Based on that, stirrup reinforcement will provide. That stirrup reinforcement calculation while solving the problem will explain. And next and foremost important step is check for deflection control. After providing all these details to the beam, after design the beam, where the beam getting the deflection or not, and the deflection is within the permissible limit or not, that we have to calculate. That is very, very important. If the final step is failed, entire your design procedure is not considered for the design of a beam. That means again you have to redesign the beam. That check for deflection we are having L by D max equal to L by D basic into KT into KC into KF. This KC, KT, KF are the modification parameters. While explaining the problem, I will explain about this. You need not to worry about this L by D basic into KC into KT into KF. Again, L by D max is the span to depth ratio. For the span to depth ratio, based on this clause number 1, that means step number 1, we have to provide the maximum deflection. Based on the maximum deflection, the provided deflection is within the permissible limit or not, that we have to calculate. This is the procedure for design of doubly reinforced beam section. The same procedure will be repeated for a design of L beam, design of T beam. Only thing is you have to remember all the design step one by one. In next class we will solve the design of doubly reinforced beam section. Up to now this is the analysis and design of doubly reinforced beam section. Thank you.